India's 8-match unbeaten streak at Chipok has come to an end with a comprehensive victory for England in the first Test match. England have gone 1-0 up in the four-match series. Not a happy day if you're an Indian cricket fan. It was England all the way through. They batted brilliantly the first 2 days. There are a lot of what ifs, there are a lot of questions that are now going to be asked, and we will ask those questions of our experts, Pragyan Ojha and Boria Majumdar. But it's been that kind of a week, hasn't it, for the Indian cricket team after a heroic performance in Australia, and then you come home to this defeat. But before we get to the questions and before we get to the analysis, before we look back at the week that was for this Indian team, here's a look at our sponsored video.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ. हमें हराओ और जीतो डबल कैश. Log on to houseit.com and win real cash.
Right, then download the Houseit app and start making your teams and challenging our experts on sports today. There's plenty of cricket coming up this week. In fact, 3 days out from now, the second Test match will start in Chennai. Pragyan, getting straight to you. Like I said, there were a lot of what ifs. What if India had won the toss? Boria Majumdar is also joining back. Welcome back, Boria. There's a lot of what ifs in this Test match, right? What if India had won the toss, but that's not in your control. But again, what was in India's control initially was the way they handled the England pacers, especially that first spell from Jimmy Anderson, because they were obviously going to bowl short bursts like they did, and the England spinners were not on the top of their game, at least in the second innings. What if India had handled those pacers well? That Jimmy Anderson spell, especially not losing those 2-3 wickets so quickly.
Toss is never in your control. That is something you can say. Some of the captains, they have higher chances of winning those tosses, but it's never in your control. So talking about that doesn't give you the correct picture about what has happened in the Test match. But saying that, yes, we will discuss about the second innings, but first innings was very crucial. That's where I thought maybe we lost our momentum. Maybe first innings, had we batted little better, we lost Virat, we lost Rohit, we lost Ajinkya. So these guys, if they would have batted better, things would have been very different. Second innings, it was all about trying to save the Test match, because with that lead, it is very difficult. Everybody knows in subcontinent, once the ball starts turning, and we saw when fast bowlers are bowling, those puff of dust was coming out and the ball was keeping low, it was bouncing, so it was difficult. So second innings, it was more of Indian team was trying to save the Test match. But where the things changed was in the first innings when Indians were batting. That's where I thought if they would have batted better, things would have been different.
Right, and we have Deep Dasgupta also joining us straight from Chipok. But before I come to Deep, Boria, welcome back. But it would have been better, right? It would have been even better to get you for this reunion to happen on a better day for Indian cricket. But let's put this in perspective, right? The first Test match of a series, the toss did not go India's way. The conditions the first 2 days, no excuses. But let us put that in perspective. But before we do that, some questions will be raised around the team selection, especially Kuldeep Yadav, Ajinkya Rahane's performances, and that top order failure this morning.
See, I thought Pragyan hit the nail on the head when he said about the first innings, because in India, in Hindi, as you say, match khulta hai day 4 and day 5. So I was actually chatting with Saurav Ganguly when India went in to bat the first innings in his house, and he said, you know what, India will also get 450. And the same thing was said to me by Sachin. All of us felt India will get 450 as well in response to 578. And the moment you get to 450, you get that lead down to about 100, 125, and then that Ashwin spell happens in the second innings, the match opens up. But because of the fact that you were 4 down for 73, I think that's when you lost it, because there was a great partnership after that. Pujara was unlucky. Pant plays the way he plays, 91. No one's defending that, but the 91 was extremely brilliant. And Washington Sundar played an innings out of his, out of his skin, punched above his weight. Ravichandran Ashwin did the same. So you effectively lost the match in the first innings with that top order collapse. And if you take a look at that top order collapse, Ajinkya Rahane, that was a bad shot. I mean, that shot needs to be changed. That was a bad shot. People will question Ajinkya Rahane's consistency. After that Melbourne 100, where is the consistency? Virat Kohli, sort of first innings, second innings looked extremely good before he got that ball that kept low. So Virat Kohli now back in runs. That is important for India. Shubman Gill, that was so pleasing to the eye before he got out to that one fall shot. Rohit Sharma, edge. So that part, 4 down for 73 closed it for me. Having said that, Kuldeep Yadav a must. Deep and I were chatting 1 hour back on the phone. And I asked Deep, do you know anything about Akshar Patel? And he said he can see Akshar Patel batting at the Chepauk nets behind him. So that's what you should ask him. Because Shahbaz Nadeem getting outbowled by Jack Leach, and you need to ask Pragyan Oja. Shahbaz Nadeem getting outbowled by Jack Leach, who produced many more wicket-taking deliveries than Shahbaz Nadeem did yesterday. I think it's a big, big difference. And that's why the one player India missed the most was Ravindra Jadeja. No excuses. And I still think India will come back very strong in the second test. This is more an aberration. Tells you how good England is. Series has been set up. But again, for once, while we are constructively critical, let's not just go overboard and say, oh, everything's lost. No, India will come back and do so hard.
Right. In fact, what Boria said also echoed our views less than 2 months back, right, when India were bowled out for 36 at the Adelaide Oval. And here on Sports Today, we kept saying that was a one-off. Hopefully, this is also a one-off. An aberration. India can come back strongly. But Deep, 2 quick views from you. One on the Akshar Patel update. Also, Ajinkya Rahane's form, especially at home, and like Boria said, that 100 and then there's a dip in form. You'd expect more consistency, and you'd expect a batsman of his class and stature to continue to build on performances like the MCG.
Well, first things first, Akshar, I think, was batting. So I saw him batting the other day. I mean, the nets right behind the stadium. So he looks fit to play the next test match. I mean, his name would be there in the hat. Secondly, as let's talking about Ajinkya. I mean, he has today. I mean, no debate about that. He's got that 100. Apart from that, even in that series, he's averaging early 30s in spite of that 100. So yeah, I mean, you would want your top order, and like Pragyan and Bola mentioned, it's the first innings. I mean, obviously you lose the game in the 4th innings, but end of the day, if you really analyze it, it's the first innings where you should score more runs from time perspective, lead perspective, from everything. So and I think I was listening to Virat and he mentioned about intensity, and I mean that's so true. I mean the first innings looked a little different. Second innings was what you expect from the Indian side, the body language, the way they were moving around on the field. So yeah, but India will bounce back. There's no two ways about it. But it's not going to be easy, and we've said this before. This series is not going to be easy. Let's not also forget that the third test is a day end. So you have Anderson, Broad. Jofra is not available for that, but you have Anderson and Broad. I'm sure both of them will play that game. So yeah, I mean the pink ball test is for me the 50-50. I mean there are no favorites coming to that pink ball test. So that would make very this test match very very interesting. And with this win, what has also happened is England's gone up to number 1 now in the World Championship rankings, and India has come down to number 4. So, I mean, there are other subplots as well. So, first test match of a series is always very important, setting the tone and everything else. I know it's all cliche, but India will definitely be under pressure after this.
Right, absolutely. And in fact, Pragyan, the first test match of a series being important, but India have been known to bounce back. You look back at some of the most iconic series, 2001 versus Australia, 2017 versus Australia, they lost in Pune. 2021 in Australia, they lost in Adelaide. It was a disaster, wasn't it? But the 2 questions to you, Pragyan. What kind of adjustments will this Indian team need? And like Boria pointed out, the fact that Jack Leach, their left-arm spinner, out-bowled Shahbaz Nadeem, who is very experienced in first-class cricket, and you have made that point about the way Shahbaz Nadeem bowled. So a lot of adjustments, and that Kuldeep factor has to be important given Akshar Patel's concerns, even probably for the second test match.
Definitely, they'll be looking to get either Akshay Patel or Kuldeep because I don't know how and what they have to do to, because Sundar has done everything good. I don't know if they will be looking to replace Akshar with Sundar and then get Kuldeep Yadav. It depends on what the management is thinking. But yes, if you look at Nadeem and Jack Leach definitely bowled those lines and he was asking the right questions. But one thing, what I felt about Nadeem was Nadeem is a guy who bowls at that slower pace. He bowls at 75, 80, and he get that is his stock delivery. It is very difficult and very unfair on his part to ask him to bowl at a certain pace which he's not used to it. Maybe because of that he ended up bowling those no balls. Even in domestic cricket I've not seen Nadeem bowl too many no ball deliveries. So I think he was trying too hard, because of which he lost his rhythm. Maybe that's why he was not looking that great or that penetrative. But yes, that is a concern which Indian team needs to address. And I believe whatever your strengths are, you need to do those things. If you try and do certain things, that might not help you. So I think that was the case with Nadeem. He was trying to bowl at a pace which he had never bowled or never bowled consistently.
Right. No, Boria, a lot of concerns around the spinners or the way the top order collapsed in the first innings and then this morning in the second innings. Also, as expected, but unfortunately, questions around Virat Kohli's captaincy. I'm seeing a couple of trends on Twitter with the numbers that suggest that Virat Kohli has lost his last 4 Test matches as captain. This is not quite a reflection on his captaincy, isn't it? Because he's done incredibly well as captain. He won you that series in Australia in 2018. He's done remarkably well. I mean, he's been captain for 6 years of this test team, and he's only lost 2 Test matches at home. And even with that defeat in Pune, India bounced back. He has improved his numbers as a batsman when he became captain. So let's first put that nonsensical debate, if I may say, to rest and say that this is not really a reflection on his captaincy. These things happen in cricket, and then this Indian team does bounce back. Boria, you're mute, Boria. Yeah.
Ajinkya Rahane has just won you a series and Virat coming back. So we know where these people are coming from. They are trolls. That's their job. Let them do it. Virat Kohli is the captain of this Indian team. I don't think this is a debate we need to even address. Virat Kohli will continue to captain this Indian team in this series, and that's the thing. And if he loses the series, then of course you will question. I mean, anyone can or should, because after this, do not forget, we are actually going to play 5. And if we do win the next 2, we are playing 6 Test matches in England consecutively. I mean, that will be a big test for anybody, be it Virat Kohli, be it Ajinkya Rahane, be it anyone. So yes, you ask questions, but not prematurely. He's just come back for 1 Test match. Let this if India loses this series, will you not question him? Of course you will. Not at the moment. Coming to the next part, you see, I mean, for me, Shahbaz Nadeem was a big disappointment. Whatever pace he bowled or not bowled, he did not produce wicket-taking deliveries. On day 4, just take a look at the pressure Ravi Ashwin was exerting. I am not saying he will have to be Ravi Ashwin because he's perhaps the best of all time. But at the same time, you can be Jack Leach. Jack Leach has played hardly, Shahbaz Nadeem has more experience at the first-class level. All taken. If I go through those dismissals, that shot of Shubman Gill in the first innings will not happen. Ajinkya Rahane will not happen. Yes, the Indians need to know that the one bad game that they could have afforded is now gone. Any sort of remnants of that Australia series is now gone. So all of that is gone. It's past, it's done. Just like Australia is done, Adelaide was done, even Chennai tonight will be done. So you are going to get out at Chennai again on the 13th in a fresh mindset, with a fresh team, with a fresh outlook, and treat it as a 3-match series. Treat it as a 3-match series like you did in Australia, and you are good enough to beat England. If you take a look at the English second innings, you know there are problems. If you take a look at the English approach, you know that they will be defensive against this Indian lineup. So it's not as if you can't. At the same time, there are big gaps, as both our experts have been talking about, which need to be filled. I do think that they will not go in with Kuldeep and Nadeem because of the batting. So they will go one. Who is that? Will Akshar Patel replace? Will Akshar Patel replace Shahbaz Nadeem, or will Kuldeep Yadav come back and Washington Sundar continues? I would want to know Deep and Pragyan's views. What is their spin combination going into the second test?
Yes,
Well, okay. If I start, I'm going to look at Akshar, to be honest. Akshar, if he's fit and ready to go, then I'm going to look at Akshar in place of Nadeem. Because it's Washington. I mean, Washington played beautifully, so you can't really touch him. The way he battled, I thought he should have been bowled a little more in the second innings. So yeah, so I think it's going to be Akshar for Nadeem is all that I can think of right now. Even though I would love to get someone like him, someone who is a wrist spinner, and I'm sure he's hungry. I mean, I know him personally; he is. But unfortunately, at this point in time, I really don't see a place for him. The only change, because the other thing is, we all know, like we've been talking about, the fact that India will bounce back. So it's important not to make those knee-jerk reactions. Yes, Nadeem was disappointing, and you have someone like Akshar. Mind you, Akshar, the way he bowls suits more on these surfaces. He's also someone like Jadeja. We miss Jadeja big. There's absolutely no two ways about it. The pace that he bowls, the consistency, the discipline, and obviously his batting. So, yeah, I mean, the closest that you can get to Jadeja is Akshar, the bowling style and everything. So I think Akshar for Nadeem is what I'm looking for.
Again, just to add to Boria's question and to add
Rajesh, that's the point. I mean, they've also got Rahul Chahar now into the squad. So ask Pragyan, if Akshar is not ready, does he still replace Shahbaz Nadeem? Who does he replace with? Kuldeep or Rahul Chahar? They added Rahul Chahar to the squad. He's a leg spinner. What does Pragyan do?
See, if you go with that thing, I will go with Kuldeep Yadav because he's that left arm wrist spinner. But you never know because first test we all were expecting Kuldeep to play because Jadeja was not available, but they went with Nadeem. So it depends on what the team and the coach they're thinking and what they want, who they want. But if you go with the conventional thing, if Akshar is not available, what Deepda just said, that if he replaces somebody, it will be Akshar Patel in place of Nadeem. But if Akshar is not available, I will definitely go with Kuldeep Yadav. That's how I think.
But also the point is, gentlemen, that with this injury concern around Akshar Patel and the fact that Kuldeep hasn't played Test cricket for nearly 2 years, again, that also complicates the situation for India a little bit, because are you looking now at Washington Sundar, also basis his batting form and the fact that he has been underused as a spinner, or maybe he needs to be used some other way, right? Because if you look at Akshar, Shahbaz Nadeem, Rahul Chahar, Kuldeep and Washington Sundar, if you're picking up that one spinner, who is the better spinner? And then also are you laying that emphasis on his batting talent? So that is also going to be another tricky issue for India to address.
To be very clear, Washington Sundar is a batsman who can bowl. He's a batsman who can bowl. If you talk about days cricket, yes, 2020 one day he can bowl those small spells because it's like 10 over or 4 overs. But when you talk about Test cricket, he needs to play a lot more. When you look at his bowling, his batting was spot on. He bats well, and everybody knows. If you talk to anybody who has played cricket with him or all his coaches and all, they will say he's a batsman who can bowl. And saying that, if you talk about the bowlers with experience, if Akshar is not available, Kuldeep Yadav has got maximum experience amongst all these guys. So why have a new man in? Why not have Kuldeep Yadav, who's been part of that team and has delivered for you? Last couple of tests that he played in one of those tests, he's got a fifer. So give him that opportunity, and he will deliver. That this is where you give your players that confidence. If now Kuldeep Yadav doesn't play, and if Akshar is not available and Rahul Chahar comes in, imagine what will happen to Kuldeep Yadav. you may lose a quality bowler because his confidence will be gone.
Right. And Boria, as apart from the spinners in the next test match, do you foresee any other changes because of the rotation policy that India might deploy here, given the conditions in Chennai and the fact that there is the 2 more test matches in Ahmedabad? What are the other changes that you foresee, or in case you've been able to speak to the management about concerns around the rest of the squad?
See, firstly, I entirely agree with Pragyan. Kuldeep Yadav has to play if Akshar Patel is unfit. You cannot leave out Kuldeep Yadav and go to Rahul Chahar, because then you're destroying somebody. You cannot do that. Kuldeep Yadav is a good enough bowler. And I do think they will play Kuldeep Yadav if Akshar Patel is not fully fit. That's point number 1. And he's, by the way, he's a genuinely good match winner. And if Kuldeep Yadav does play, believe me, and if I'm making a fantasy team, I will put Kuldeep Yadav as one of my trump cards. He's that good on home soil. This second innings wicket, Kuldeep Yadav yesterday, day 4, he would have run through England. Trust me. I mean, Kuldeep Yadav is genuinely good. We've got to bank on that fellow. Number 2, I think Washington Sundar can be an able competitor for somebody like Hanuma Vihari because of his batting skills. That occasional bowler. You don't need more than 4. How many did England use? Jofra Archer, Jimmy Anderson, Jack Leach, and Dom Bess. That's it, with Ben Stokes coming in for 4, 5, 6 overs. That's what England did. When you have 5 bowlers, inevitably one will be underbowled. So if Washington Sundar has to bowl, he will come bowl 5, 10, 15 and give you the break, that you need for your faster bowlers or somebody. So if you still play him, that's fine. But get 4 genuine match-winning bowlers and not a defensive option. Shahbaz Nadeem wasn't our match-winning option this test match. Other changes? No. It's just the one test in the series. Again, this knee-jerk reaction. Yesterday, I was seeing some people tweet, Rohit Sharma, white ball player. Shut up. Just shut up. I mean, Rohit Sharma looked absolutely the part in Australia. Wait for Rohit Sharma for at least 2-3 test matches. Virat Kohli did not get runs. Virat Kohli, come on, man. Second innings, Virat Kohli looked superb. Ajinkya Rahane, we can question his consistency, and we will. Having said that, there is every reason to believe he will come back. So if you really ask me, other changes, I don't see. I see that one change, and that is also a sign of not panicking, of banking on your players and telling them you're good enough. It was one bad test. England won the toss. Root batted outstandingly well. All of these things came together. The Cheteshwar Pujara dismissal in the first innings, had it not happened, the 337 would have become 400 plus. And Cheteshwar Pujara did not even look to get out almost. So if you really go through point by point by point, you will see there are these many things in the match which went England's way, which could have gone India's way. I think there's no need to panic. Just analyze, get 4 match-winning bowlers, put out a team on the park on the 13th. India will come back.
And India have come back. It's in some of the most iconic series, like we've discussed. Boria rightly mentioned that maybe look at this, Kuldeep, as a 3-match test series now. That's what you did in Australia. That's what you've done in the past in some of the more historic triumphs. And this Indian team has shown that with their backs against the wall, they can come back hard. It happened in Sydney. It happened in Brisbane. Did not quite happen here, but good enough to come back.
India definitely is. I mean, there's no 2 ways. It's one of the top sides of the world. So I'm not doubting that even one bit. But what I'm saying is a word of caution here, because if you look at how they batted us, we're talking about Indian batting, but also the way the English batting batted, Guru doesn't seem like he's moving. So you. All I'm saying is it's not going to be easy. Like we've said this on the show before the series started. So you have to play really good cricket here. So you have to make the right decision in terms of playing 11, in terms of how you bat. The first innings batting is so important here. When you're playing anywhere, I think in Test match cricket, the first innings is more important than second innings. That's what I think. But those are the things you've got to keep in mind. It's just one change. I'm going to go with all of us what we're discussing here. I don't think you really need to change. The personnel that you have out there are good enough. It's just that they need to bring the A game to the
right. And is it pertinent to also discuss a couple of the positives? Because look at Washington Sundar's batting. Rishabh Pant, yes, those dismissals you can probably question at some point in time, but that's the way he plays. Shubman Gill, Pragyan, the way he has started off in the second innings of successive tough matches against tough opponents. There are still positives you can take from a defeat and look ahead to the future like we have been for the last couple of months in Test match cricket. It's heartening to see guys like Gill, Washington, and Pant do what they're doing.
Yeah, it is without a doubt. The way Shubman Gill is batting, the way Pant, that impact he's created, and Washington Sundar coming down the order and playing those gritty knocks. These guys have been brilliant. I think something to really look forward to. Yeah, and when you talk about Shubman Gill, he's exceptionally talented. He's got that extra bit of time, but something that he needs to do is he needs to just hold on a bit. I felt he at times he goes with the flow, and that's when he gets out. So something he needs to understand, because everybody's talking so highly about him. Something he needs to balance, something he needs to do, because he's getting those starts, but he needs to convert them. That is where his talent will be justified. Yes, we all have seen something special in him. And Pant, he's just something, he should play the way he's been playing. But one thing I felt which could have been different was Pant exactly knew that Jimmy Anderson's that spell was very crucial. And if you look at those two spinners, they were not that great on the wicket that we saw on the fifth day. It was helping a lot, but we saw Dombes bowling those full tosses, bowling those short deliveries, and Jack Lees, yes, at times he was creating those wicket-taking deliveries, but he was not that consistent. If you compare him with someone like Ashwin, uh, one spell had he seen Rishabh Pant, that's what I felt. Because if he was there with Virat Kohli, then it would have been a different thing. We would have saved the test match. That is one thing I felt he could have done. One spell you have to see through. In test matches, there are few spells that you need to give respect, or there are few spells you have to play just to make sure things are okay. And at that point, Jimmy Anderson was looking to get those wickets. He got two brilliant wickets of Ajinkya Rahane and Shubman Gill. And then somewhere I felt Rishabh Pant could have played to the situation. That is only thing. But other than that, these three guys were brilliant.
Since we are on Rishabh Pant, Deep, there is this other factor, right? Before I also want your take on the way, because it's sometimes it's a little polarized, isn't it? The way guys like Rishabh Pant bat, because he's young, go for his shots. Look at 91. Pujara said that he needs to think a little of the team and the situation, game awareness, like Pragyan mentioned in the second innings. Also, I would like to would like your view on the fact that he's improving quite quickly as a wicket keeper, especially in the second innings. The way he kept that stumping chance he missed in the first innings, and Ashwin's reaction was agonizing. But he's also improving as a wicket keeper. So these 2 points quickly before I go to Boria for his closing comments.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as far as I'm concerned, he kept really well in the second innings. First things that stumping miss was a single error. He wanted to take off the bell beams before he collected the ball, and he wanted to be really flashy and quick. So that's more of a single error. That's not a technical error. And then as far as the second innings, I think he really kept well. That surface is not the easiest to keep on. Batting as well, it's a tricky one, Rishabh. It's a tricky one because he's kind of a maverick. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do, and the issue is you want him to learn. You want him to learn from experience because you don't want to kind of hinder his growth by or putting more pressure on him, because you don't want to lose that edge that he has, the X factor that he has. So it's a tricky situation. And going by how he's performed in the last few years, I think the signs are good. The signs are good in the sense he's learning from the mistakes that he's made before. His shot selection has improved, as we've seen in the last few test matches here and in Australia. So yeah, I mean, you just want him to learn from the mistakes that he makes and hope he improves his shot selection. Because one thing you don't want to see is Rishabh Pant not playing his shots, right? That's something that we don't. But yeah, I mean, game awareness and everything else, obviously things like that. You have a chat with him. You have a normal chat with him. You just don't want to impose things on him, because he's one of those characters that I personally think he's one of those characters that you speak to him. You don't speak down at him. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. That communication, the message, the mode is very important.
Absolutely. And we've been addressing a lot of these issues on Sports Today. And again, there are questions around a lot of comments and questions on whether Kohli should be removed as captain, sack Rohit Sharma. Look, these are yes, Kohli, please.
See, these questions will be there. That's why Indian cricket is what it is. One defeat and the whole world comes crashing down. One win and everyone's a god. That's why I keep saying 11 gods become 11 dogs at the end of one win or one loss. We are not supposed to take them seriously because as analysts and observers of the game for close to 2.5 decades, we know this much. This is a good enough team to bounce back in the very next test. And the moment Rohit Sharma gets 100 or Virat Kohli gets 100 and India wins the next one, you will see these same very people completely change their attack. That's what Indian cricket is all about. That's why trolls are trolls. Some there are professional trolls these days who are they don't have anything else to do, they troll. But as far as we are concerned, it's an important lesson, this test match. It's a defeat that should hurt. Make no mistake, it's a defeat on home soil at the Chepauk, which is our favorite venue. It will hurt us. Having said that, are we going to overreact? Are we going to panic? No. We will take stock, like Deep said. Maybe talk to Rishabh Pant and tell him, look, you've got 490s. When you give up cricket, these 490s will come back and haunt you. It could have been 600s by now. So would you just want to give it a thought and say, once I get to 90 and the field is anyway back because of the way I bat, I'll just get a few singles, get my 100 and then do what I want to do. Because 100 and a 90 is very different. Just talk to him. That's it. I mean, these guys all know Rohit Sharma and Ajinkya Rahane. Do you think they need to be, sort of told what to do? No. They are part of your leadership group. One is your white ball captain, or would be captain, or can be captain, vice captain at the moment. One is just winning you a test series in Australia. Two real leaders. Virat Kohli in the second innings looked outstandingly in control. If you take a look at his shot, they were showing that graphic. He was in control for 99% of the balls. Now that's fabulous on a fifth day wicket against the turning ball. So yes, I understand all of the reaction that on Indian soil, after beating Australia, England has to be bamboozled and gone. No, it doesn't happen like that. England's also here with a quality cricket side after 2 wins in Sri Lanka on a track that's not very different. Subcontinent wickets, they've got enough practice. And when they came here, so they've been around for the last 1 month on these conditions, these kind of pitches. So give them the respect. I still believe India will come back in the next test match. God willing, if we win the toss, it becomes easier. We'll score 500, put England in. That's how the recipe should be. But even if we do lose the toss, get your 4 match winners, because that's when the question will be asked of the Indian bowling. Don't let England get 5, 7, 8. Be tight. Don't give wicket-taking balls like the way you did. Ben Stokes took off against Shahbaz Nadeem. In the first innings, too many loose balls on offer. That cannot happen. Tighten up. That's all you need to do. Tighten up. Your arsenal is good. Deep Das Gupta used the perfect word. Same very people, same very arsenal. Just the modus operandi and the implementation and the intent has to be slightly different. You should be fine.
True. And you also need to applaud the fact that England played terrific cricket. And Boria,
of course,
they're here to play cricket, right? India did make some mistakes, Boria, but England have been brilliant. But closing comments. Boria, it's a bit of a hypothetical question, but since you know the team management so well, you close friends with Virat Kohli, you know how they think. What sort of conversations would take place between now and the second test? There's certainly not going. There won't be too many negative thoughts. Some shoulders would be drooping, but that management around Ravi Shastri, Virat Kohli, Bharat Varun, they're a tough unit, right? There'll be some
very tough unit, and they know that they need to come back. They will know that better than anyone, that you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I mean, in Australia, it's now history. So the whole Australia euphoria is now gone and dusted, and they know that better than anybody. Virat Kohli is a die-hard sort of committed cricketer who hates to lose. It will hurt him. Virat Kohli will be disappointed and hurt at the end of day 5. Trust you me, having lost this test match, one of the most disappointed will be Virat Kohli. He will come back. So all you need to do is that the chat will be a quiet chat. They will take stock. They will go through that first innings. They will know what to do. Maybe that subtle change. And also a couple of changes from Bharat as to where the bowlers need to bowl. Will, just Pragyan said, Shahbaz Nadeem bowl slightly slower. If whoever comes in, what is his role? Will Washington Sundar be bowled a little bit more? So these are the kind of little conversations that will happen. They've got not too long a turnaround. It's 3 days. So effectively in 2 days' time, you've got to put your team on the park. So not much time. Take a breather. Forget about cricket tonight. Come back tomorrow and just revisit what the situation is, put your team on the park. I keep telling Rajesh, I'm very, very confident that India will come back in the next test. This is a big wake-up call, big wake-up call. You did not expect England to be this good. They have been really good. So you now bring your A game. India brings their A game. They can still beat England if they put up their A game. That's what I feel. Two quality sides. If India puts their A game in front, they can beat England. However good England plays. That's what we want to see in the next test, the A game.
Right, right. Deep, Pragyan, we seem to have lost Pragyan, some technical issue. But Deep, before we go, Boreas rightly said that it's a tough unit, this management, and you must have noticed the body language. We saw the Indian dressing room; they were obviously disappointed, but they kept applauding Virat Kohli, and that brief little resistance, if I may use the word, between R. Ashwin and Virat Kohli, because they were stalling defeat more than anything else. All hope was lost, but they were stalling defeat, and that knock from Virat Kohli, that body language from the Indian dressing room will be a little more positive. They'll take something away from the 4.5 days here.
No, there's no two ways. I mean, listen, when you play enough cricket, you know you're going to win some and you also will lose some. So you take the losses in the right spirit. I think one of the things that sports teaches you is how to take losses. And I think what you do is you don't get into your room and you sulk. Because end of the day, I mean, they've asked very, very good and pertinent questions in terms of the English team. They've asked those questions, and it's for the Indian team to come up with the answers. So if you're sulking, chances are you're not going to get those answers right. So the idea is, yes, you'll be extremely disappointed. I mean, listen, the players will be more disappointed than anyone else. Right? I mean, it's not us whose name and jobs on the line. It's them. So it's their pride which is on the line. It's their job that's on the line. So they'll be disappointed, but I'm sure they're going to pick themselves up and try and come up with those answers. And listen, at times when India loses, we keep talking about how poorly India played. But you also have to understand, the opposition played beautifully. I mean, look at them batting. They really, I mean, apart from Nadeem and Washington in the first innings, the way they played, Ashwin, Bumrah, Irfan, I think one of the biggest positive was Bumrah's first test match at home. I mean, he bowled what, 30 plus, 36, 37 overs in the first innings. He came and he was running every ball. So, I mean, you've got to give it to the English batsmen. They played really well. I mean, the kind of form that Joe puts in, I mean, it's an absolute dream. So, yes, while India didn't bring their A game, England did. And that's where the difference was. And hopefully, India will bring the A game. And, I mean, listen, England will. I mean, they are ready for it. This is, by the way, the sixth consecutive win away from home. So they know, I mean, this particular team, they know how to win away from them.
Absolutely, they do, and they've been remarkable in the subcontinent, especially Joe Root has led from the front, Jimmy Anderson at 38. You have to applaud England. Yes, we will analyze the mistakes India made, but we will be constructive in our criticism and in our analysis. But that's all that we have from the first test match, the analysis of the first test match. Boria Majumdar will be back with his exclusive news breaks and other analysis at 5 But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your views and comments. Do keep subscribing and watching Sports Today. Thank you so much.